I want to thank Martha Lanning and the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. It is great to be here with some of your best. Milwaukee's Mayor, Tom Barrett, yes. Your fearless Congresswoman, Gwen Moore. Your fantastic Senator, Tammy Baldwin. And won't it be a great day when we can once again talk about your two fantastic senators with Russ Feingold. I want to thank my friend Cecile Richards for being here tonight. There's a lot about Cecile I admire, including the poise she showed while speaking truth to power with some of the most fact-adverse Republicans in Congress. Trust me, that is not easy. And I am so grateful to have been endorsed by the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. I also want to thank my friend, your neighbor, Senator Al Franken, for campaigning here for me. And I'm told that Congressman Andre Carson from Indiana is here, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters from California. To all of the city, state, and local leaders who pour your hearts into building the Democratic Party across Wisconsin, please know this: I will help you take back the governorship and the state legislature. You see, I am a proud Democrat, and I support Democrats up and down the ticket, always have and always will. And to the union members and representatives of organized labor who have faced a hostile agenda in this state, please know help is on the way. Now, we're here tonight because we want together to build a future where every American can live up to his or her God-given potential, no matter where you come from, what you look like, or who you love. We believe no one who works full-time should have to live in poverty in America, and that every American deserves the peace of mind that comes with quality, affordable health care. We believe that when a governor attacks teachers, nurses, and firefighters, it doesn't make him a leader, it makes him a bully. We believe America's diversity is a strength, not a weakness, and this all makes us join together as Democrats. And I'm proud of the campaign that Senator Sanders and I have been running. It's been hard fought all across our country, and here in Wisconsin is no exception, but we have tried to stay focused on the issues as compared to the Republicans who have been focused on insults. And I am deeply honored to have received nearly 9 million votes so far. And I'll tell you, that is 1 million more than Donald Trump has received. It's also 2.5 million more than Senator Sanders, but I am not taking anything or anyone for granted. I hope to earn your support this Tuesday. And here's what I believe about this race. Anyone running for president faces three big tests. First, can you deliver results that improve people's lives? Second, can you keep us safe? And third, can you bring our country together? I think every candidate should be judged by those tests. So let's talk for a minute about what it takes to make a real difference for people and families. I know right now a lot of Americans are frustrated. They're worried that their best days and our country's best days are behind us. And I understand why. 9 million Americans lost their jobs in the Great Recession. 5 million homes were lost. $13 trillion in family wealth was wiped out. And a lot of Americans haven't recovered from that. Working people, on average, haven't had a raise in 15 years. And they wonder, because they tell me they do, how they're ever going to give their kids the opportunities they deserve. That's why I believe we have to break down all the barriers holding people back. We have to come together to build ladders of opportunity in their place. We have to make the promise of America real for all our people. And that starts with creating more good jobs with rising incomes that provide dignity and pride. The good jobs of the future are going to end up somewhere in the world. I want them to be here in Wisconsin and across America. And every candidate owes it to you to come up with real ideas for how to do that. That's why I've laid out a national manufacturing strategy so we can make it in America. And just this week, I proposed a new $10 billion investment to bring together workers and unions, businesses and universities, and government at every level to create those new jobs. And I want everybody to come up with their own manufacturing plan, because when you think about it, this election should be held, carried out, fought over agendas. What is it you say you're going to do? And how do you expect to get it done? I've also offered specific reforms to force companies that ship jobs overseas to give back every penny in tax breaks they ever got right here at home. And if they try to move their headquarters to a foreign country to skip out on their tax bills, we're going to slap a new exit tax on them and put the money they have to pay up to work in the communities that they want to leave behind. I've also laid out approaches that will make it harder for Wall Street to force businesses to treat workers as costs to be cut instead of assets to be invested in. And it's important we keep our eye on where a lot of the problems for tomorrow are coming from. Let's reward companies that provide high-quality training and share profits with their employees. That's the kind of approach that will begin to push back on quarterly capitalism and the pressures from activist shareholders and others who are only interested in just stripping companies of their assets, including their employees. So I will lead the fight against Republican attacks on President Obama's financial reforms under the Dodd-Frank legislation. In fact, I don't think the president gets the credit he deserves for saving this economy and cracking down on Wall Street. We're going to protect that progress and go even further. And yes, we need smarter, fairer trade policies. Now, there have been a lot of distortions of my record on trade, so tonight I want to set things straight. To every worker in Wisconsin and every worker across America, if I am fortunate enough to be your president, I will stand with you, I will have your back, and I will stop dead in its tracks any trade deal that hurts America. And what I want you to know is I opposed, when I was in the Senate and actually had a vote, I opposed the only multilateral trade deal that came up. It was called CAFTA, because I thought it was bad for American jobs. And as Secretary of State, I fought for American manufacturers against China's cheating. And then when I finally had the chance to take a look at the final Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, I opposed it because I couldn't look in the eye of any American worker and say this deal will raise your wages. Now, it is true that Senator Sanders is very consistent. He's opposed all trade deals all the time. But I don't agree with that either, because when trade is done right, it helps put thousands of Wisconsin companies in a better position to export billions of dollars. Worth of products and to create good-paying jobs. So, this is my opinion. We need a president who doesn't just rail against trade or who doesn't enforce trade, but a president who knows how to compete against the rest of the world and win for America and for American workers. That's what I did when I was a senator. It's why I have so many people who go to bat for me, who talk about why they trust me, why they count on me, because I stood up for them. I stood up against unfair treatment by China and others. I testified for steel workers against dumping of steel in our country. I want you to know, when I am president, if I am so fortunate enough to be there, no one will take advantage of us, not China, not Wall Street, and not overpaid corporate executives. But I believe we can't stop there. It's not enough for us to tell you, those of us running, what we're against. We got to tell you what we're for. You know, we need to make investments in education and training to give Americans the skills they need to succeed at the good jobs of the future. That starts with being sure all our kids have access to good schools and good teachers from early childhood through high school and beyond, no matter what zip code they live in. Because when we invest in our kids' education, we're investing in our country's future. We're creating a stronger economy. We know that still today, a worker with a college degree earns $500,000 more over their working lifetime. And when we invest in higher education, it enriches lives beyond the classroom. It allows innovation to spread from campus labs to businesses throughout the state and the country. This is a principle so fundamental to this state that it's called the Wisconsin idea. You know, I was born in Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs. I came to Wisconsin a lot when I was a young person. Came to church camp. I came to Girl Scout camp. We would travel around Wisconsin on little mini weekend vacations. And I really loved how beautiful this state was. And then as I got older and I learned more about the progressive tradition of Wisconsin, I became such an admirer. I thought, wow, Wisconsin was ahead of the curve on so many important issues that really improved lives for Americans, stood up for fundamental rights. And the Wisconsin idea just sparked my imagination. So it is terrible to see the damage Governor Walker and his allies in the legislature have done in just 5 years. They have cut hundreds of millions of dollars from Wisconsin's colleges and universities. They've rolled back financial aid. They even blocked a proposal to help people refinance their student debt. So instead of investing in higher education, they're gutting it. This is so wrong, and it has to stop, because a world-class education should be the birthright of every child, of every person in Wisconsin, of every American, not a privilege reserved for those who can afford it. And Senator Sanders and I both agree on this. We want to help more young people get a quality, affordable college education. But we have different ideas about how to do that. Under my plan, you won't have to borrow a dime for tuition at any public college. You'll be able to refinance existing debt at more affordable rates, which will save millions of people thousands of dollars. And because my plan is a compact, we'll work with states and schools to control costs and provide incentives for greater public investments in higher education over time. Now, by contrast, my opponent is counting on Governor Walker and the legislature to come up with $300 million in new funding for higher education up front. That's ironic, because that's how much Governor Walker wanted to cut last year. He ended up, as I'm told, cutting $250 million. So if your free college plan depends upon Republican governors like Governor Walker, that's going to take some major change of heart. Now, I do believe in deathbed conversions, so maybe it will come to pass, but I'm not counting on that. I want you to get debt-free tuition regardless of what your Republican governor has to say about it. And besides, if your ideas won't get passed in the Congress we have, or they won't work because the numbers don't add up, or they depend upon Republicans, well, then we're not going to give people the help they need right away. That's what I want to do. I think that's what it's supposed to be about. How are we going to help you right now? And there's one more pillar of a good jobs agenda, and that is getting serious about supporting unions. Unions help build the strongest middle class in the history of the world. Just think about it. Think about the history here in Wisconsin. Unions led the fight for affordable health care, safe working conditions, better wages. And today, they're at the forefront of the movement to raise the minimum wage, which would lift millions of families out of poverty. But here in Wisconsin, Governor Walker has spent the last 5 years stripping workers of their rights, limiting collective bargaining, and devastating public unions. You've seen that firsthand. And you know, these attacks on unions aren't just bad for unions and their members. They're bad for everybody. They drive down wages for everybody. They undermine the kind of changes we need for everybody. They stop our progress. And what's really scary is Ted Cruz and the other Republicans say they want to do across the country what Scott Walker has done here, impose a national right-to-work law that would depress wages and benefits, undercut unions, concentrate power in the hands of corporations and their allies. This is something else that is not only wrong, but we must stop them from ever having the chance to try that. Organized labor will always have a champion in the White House if I'm elected president. In fact, all Wisconsinites and Americans will have a president who helps break down all the barriers holding Americans back, not just some, but all. Now look, taking on income inequality is absolutely critical, but so is taking on racial inequality and discrimination in all of its forms. And so is standing up to the gun lobby and fighting for common sense gun safety reforms. Now, most people don't have the luxury of living in a single-issue world. We face a complex set of intersectional challenges, and our next president has to be able to take them all on in order to make a real difference in people's lives. And the second big test for our next president is keeping our country safe. At a time when terrorists are plotting new attacks and countries like Russia, China, and Iran are making aggressive moves, protecting America's national security can't be an afterthought. Our next president has to be just as passionate about defending our country as about fixing our economy. On the Republican side, what we're hearing is truly scary. When Donald Trump talks casually about using torture and nuclear weapons, or when Ted Cruz calls for treating American Muslims like criminals and religiously profiling their neighborhoods, that does not make Trump and Cruz sound strong. It makes them sound in over their heads. You know, loose cannons tend to misfire. And in a dangerous world, that's a gamble we cannot afford. But the test the Republican candidates fail most spectacularly is the third one. Instead of bringing us together, they seem determined to divide us even further. Their entire campaigns are based on pitting us versus them. Donald Trump plays coy with white supremacists. He wants to round up millions of Latino immigrants and kick them out of the United States, a nation built by immigrants. He wants to ban all Muslims from entering America, a country founded on religious freedom. Now, a lot of Republicans may be wringing their hands over the rise of Donald Trump, but look at Wisconsin, and it's clear Mr. Trump is just saying what many other Republican politicians have long believed. You have seen Governor Walker pit Wisconsinites against one another for years, scapegoating teachers, demonizing public workers, going after unions, claiming they've destroyed our country. He's made it his personal mission to roll back women's rights. He's defunded Planned Parenthood and banned abortion after 20 weeks with no exceptions for victims of rape and incest. He defends burdensome, medically unnecessary, and unconstitutional Texas-style regulations to restrict women's rights to make our own health decisions. And right now, there is a Walker-appointed judge running for the highest court in this state. She has actually said, I had to read this 3 times. She has actually said birth control is morally abhorrent, and doctors who provide it, namely birth control, and women who use it, namely birth control, are party to murder. Let me say that again. She compared birth control, which millions of women use every year, to murder. There is no place on any Supreme Court or any court in this country no place at all for Rebecca Bradley's decades-long track record of dangerous rhetoric against women, survivors of sexual assault, and the LGBT community. So tonight I'm adding my voice to the chorus across Wisconsin saying no to discrimination, no to hate speech, and no to Bradley. This is not some sideshow or distraction. The assault on women's reproductive rights is a serious issue when states across America are doing everything they can to put up new barriers, holding back women's access to health care, and when the Supreme Court is considering the biggest challenge to Roe v. Wade in a generation, which is why we need to stand behind President Obama and his right to fill that vacancy on the court. Every Republican running for president wants to make abortion illegal, and it's not enough simply to oppose attacks on women's rights. We need leadership to defeat them. Now, when I talk like this, and I often do, Republicans accuse me of playing the gender card. Well, if fighting for equal pay, paid family leave, and Planned Parenthood is playing the gender card, then deal me in. You know, I come to these issues as a woman, a mother, a grandmother, a lawyer, a former First Lady, Senator, Secretary of State, and I've traveled to parts of the world where government control over women's bodies consigns them to second-class status. I've been in the trenches alongside groups like Planned Parenthood and NARAL for decades, fighting to protect reproductive rights, women's autonomy, women's equality to make their own decisions here at home and around the globe. And I'm very honored that they have endorsed me in this campaign because I will keep fighting. I will fight against anyone, anywhere, who wants to set women's lives and rights back. We're going to keep going forward. That is the direction that we will head together. Now, for me, everything I've heard from Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, the other Republicans, have convinced me they have no respect for women or our rights. One of my favorite Americans, Maya Angelou, said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them." Well, today's Republican leaders are showing us who they are, and we should believe them. We need to stand up to them at every level. We know they're going to come at us with every possible insult and smear. They'll do, say, and spend whatever it takes to try to get the White House back. Now, this may be obvious to you, but I think we need a nominee who's been tested and vetted already. And for 25 years, they've thrown everything they could at me, but I'm still standing. And I am ready to take on this fight and win with you and for you. So yes, we need to keep a Democrat in the White House, but we can't stop there. If I'm fortunate enough to earn the Democratic nomination, I will have your back against Governor Walker and the Tea Party legislature here in Wisconsin. I will campaign to elect Democrats at every level. Together, we'll take back the state legislature. And in 2018, we will defeat Scott Walker. And I'm the only candidate in this race who's pledged to raise money to help build our party. I want to be your partner for the long haul, not just when I'm on the ballot, not just in election years, because we're going to take back the state, this progressive state of La Follette and Nelson and Cole and Feingold and Baldwin. So, my friends, please join us. You can join by texting JOIN, J-O-I-N, to 47246, or go to HillaryClinton.com. Contribute what you can. But most importantly, I need your support on Tuesday in the primary. Please come out and vote. Come out and vote for results that will make a positive difference in people's lives. Come out and vote for a commander-in-chief that will keep our country safe. Come out and vote for someone who will, as she has always done, find common ground while standing my ground. Let's tear down all the barriers holding us back. Let's win. Let's keep being progressives and making progress together. Thank you, and God bless you.